All right, good morning. At least it is here where I am residing outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Might be afternoon, might be evening, wherever you are. So thank you for joining me. Still a little bit under the weather, not all that great, but as I said yesterday, the show must go on. We have things to do, things to accomplish, one of which has not been exercise lately, and I really am missing it. It is what gets me going every day. Just that, the dopamine hit and the process of accomplishing something and getting up, and I miss it. It's only been a week. I feel like people have gone longer. I certainly have, but it's just something I miss. Got one of my favorite coffee cups here. Probably not coming in too good, but nice Star Wars cup. So thank you everyone for joining me. Simon's here. It would not be a stream without Simon, so thank you for showing up, Simon. We're going to have some fun with Spring Shell today and just CLIs in general. I've been thinking a lot more about them lately. I have some ideas of the other things I want to do. I've also been playing with Rust lately. I don't know about playing with. I'm trying to learn Rust, so that's been on a back burner though, because again I've been sick, so not much going on over here except kind of the mandatory stuff for work. So speaking of, yesterday was a big day. We had a lot of fun yesterday. We had spring office hours. We had a golden path to spring 1, which, oh my gosh, I need to find a link real quick. Big news to share with you this morning regarding Spring 1. Let me find my link. That's it. Sure. That seems like a long link. I don't know why I need all that. Can I just share that? Yeah. I hope so. I hope this will work. VMware events. Let me find the external link. I think I have an internal link. But the CFP for Spring 1 at VMware Explorer is now open. Talks can be submitted here by 5 p.m. on March 31st. So I will find that link and get that out to everyone. Probably on Twitter. So if you're not following me on Twitter at @TheRealDanVega, follow me there. I'll get that link out. But CFP is open for Spring 1 at VMware Explorer. If you didn't hear, our Spring 1 is moving to VMware Explorer, and they are both moving from San Francisco to Las Vegas this year. So we're going to be in Vegas on my birthday. August 21st is my birthday. So if you're not in Vegas for my birthday party, what's wrong here? So yeah, we had a little bit of fun yesterday with office hours. We did the Golden Path to Spring 1 with Matt Rabel, who was just awesome. He talked about reactive microservices in Spring Boot with Jay Hipster. Pretty cool stuff. I used to be a big user of Jay Hipster, and so it's cool to kind of see that project again. So today we're talking about whatever you want to talk about. We're also going to be continuing our little series here on Spring Shell, just an introduction to Spring Shell. If you haven't watched, there's 2 replays of the previous 2 live streams. That's just us kind of going through, learning some basics of Spring Shell, building a couple things. We're going to continue today building a little Dad Joke API. Not really an API, a CLI. And it's really not much right now, but you got to start somewhere. We want to be able to just type something on the command line and get like a random dad joke or get like a particular dad joke. So we're messing with that. We'll finish that up today, hopefully. Turn that into a native image. So now we have a native executable. We can just create an alias to on our machine, and anytime we're on the command line, we can go ahead and type something in and get a little laugh. So we'll be messing with that today. And again, anything you want to talk about, let me know. I didn't get too much time to tinker with it since last stream. That makes two of us, Simon. Mostly looked into the different inputs, but for some reason, the string input component isn't prompting the user for input, even when I compile code and reinvoke it. That's not something I've had to deal with yet, Simon. So we'll see if we can take a look at that if we have time. Again, I think everything I've done with Spring Shelf so far has been pretty basic. The things that you've seen me do on stream is what I've done, and this YouTube CLI that I built to basically do the same thing. It calls an API and gets some data back, and then I use it to format that data how I need it, and then put it into a spreadsheet. Yeah, so if you don't know, I as part of DevRel, one of the things we need to do is kind of track the things that were the pieces of content that we're working on, right? So I do a lot of content on YouTube, whether it's shorts, live streams, videos, and this is embarrassing to say, but I honestly used to input this stuff manually. So I would just go like, okay, today I worked on this video, and here's the date, and here's the title, and here's a link to the video that was published. The problem with that is, problem is manual. I don't need to use it. But like I would put in like, okay, it got 1,000 views today, or, since it was created. But then like, I never really go back and update it. 'Cause like, I don't want to update that number every week. Like that'd be very tedious. So I would just never update them. And I want more up-to-date stats. So this is still a little bit of a manual process, but way less manual. So now what I can do is go in once a month and say, give me all the videos for 2023, like for this year. Because one month it might be 5, the next month I might have 10, and I want to get like the up-to-date totals. So I say, give me all these videos and format them how I need them to go in this spreadsheet. So I just run this command from the command line, copy paste into the spreadsheet. Now I have all the videos I've worked on, all the stats, including live views versus replay views. It's been great. So I'm actually get to present that to my team next week, which will be fun. So I'm going to work on preparing a little bit for that later this week. I was supposed to give a presentation on Spring Boot 3 next week, but that has been moved. So that gives me a little more free time, which is nice. But okay. Personally, getting ChatGPT to say with confidence that our Prime Minister from 2019 is actually our monarch. ChatGPT. We could literally start a stream and just get on here every day and find the good and the bad with ChatGPT. It's been fun. All right, let's stop wasting time, Dan. All right. So, there's one thing I wanted to mention too is whether you're watching this live, I see we have a nice little crowd today. That's awesome. Thank you for showing up. Whether you're watching this live or the replay, one of the things on my plate on these live streams is I'm going to start doing this soon. I haven't figured out a schedule for this yet, but I'm going to do this very, very soon. My current website is written in a framework called Gridsum, which is on top of Vue. Gridsum like turns everything into like GraphQL queries, and then you just like get to query one GraphQL thing and get all the data that you need. It's really nice, but it stopped being worked on, and I've been a big fan of Nuxt. So if you're not familiar with Nuxt, let's go Nuxt. So Nuxt is an intuitive web framework for Vue. Really awesome framework for building Vue applications. So and Nux 3 was being worked on for a while last year, and it finally got released at the end of like November, I think. Sounds about right. And so I'm ready. I need to move my website over to Nux, is what I'm saying. And I just have been like stalling because there are some things I got to figure out, like the way that Nux content handles the things. Anyways, I'm going to do it. So we'll probably live stream some of that. I've heard that everybody's a little bit more interested in some of these front end technologies. So this will be a nice collection of those. But on top of that, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments below if you're on a replay what front end technologies you want to take a look at, because I'm very into Vue, Nuxt, Vite. Vite is really great if you've never seen it. And this is kind of framework agnostic, even though it comes from the creators of Vue. You can use this to create a whole bunch of different types of applications like vanilla JS, vanilla TypeScript. You can use Vue, React, Preact, Lit, Svelte, a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's community support for things like Angular and some others. So big fan of these. Just big fan of building for the web in general. I like front end stuff because I'm not great at it, so I want to get better at it. But I also love like the instant like gratification of like I can put something out on the web. I mentioned this on Twitter. My wife is starting a new blog called This Is My Memoir, and I'm helping her with that. So I'm going to end up, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing this with yet. I'm not sure if this is going to be Nuxt. It might be Nuxt and Spring. So we'll probably do some of this stuff too. So I like the idea of static sites, especially like blogs that don't get updated a lot. So the more I can lean into static site generation, the better. I like just like that fast responsive thing. Like blogs, I don't want to wait for, like if I click on a blog and it's like loading. I don't want to wait around for that. I want like, it's just a blog. It's some art. It's an article. I want to read it. I want that instant load time. So I'm big on that. But I also don't want to restrict her to like ask me to basically take a Notion doc into Markdown every single time and push this up. So we're going to have some fun with that one too. So we're going to have some fun over the next month building out those two sites. That's kind of front end stuff. So if you're interested in anything front end, let me know. Spring.io. So what have we been working on? Projects. Spring Shell. Again, I saw a Reddit question like, what else can Spring be used for? Whole bunch of things, right? There's a whole bunch of things Spring can be used for. One of which is building web apps. One of which is, building shell applications. So we can bring build shell applications here with Spring Shell. Oh, and I finally figured out what an idiot I am. There's a project out there in Java world. Java, Pico. I was like, why can't I pronounce this? I was trying to call it like Picocli. It's Pico CLI, Dan. Somebody called me out on that, so thank you very much. Pico CLI, that sounds much better than whatever I was saying. This is another way you can build command line applications in just plain Java. So again, it always depends on what you're trying to do, what your skill set is too. You could build command line applications in Bash if that's your skill set. That's not my skill set. I would have to go look up every single thing that I need to look up to be able to build something in Bash these days. I don't remember enough of it. It's just not intuitive for me. I'm used to using Java and Spring. So if you don't need the world of Spring, check out Pico CLI. If you do live in the world of Spring, just being in a familiar environment might be nice. So we went through kind of the reference docs and the API docs. I did talk to the Spring Shell team. We are indeed missing some documentation on the table stuff, which I heard is coming. So that is good to hear. Or at least it's been, that issue is well aware. We know about that. I don't know if it's coming right now or if it's being worked on. I'll have to get some more clarity on that. So that's what we've been doing. Let me move to something like this. So where we left off yesterday, so you have these classes called commands, right? Commands are a grouping of different methods. So in this particular one, we're writing a dad joke command. So we're just using an API to get a random dad joke. And this is okay for now. I'll talk about some ideas I had, but for now, I just want to get this working. We did some things yesterday. We had the idea of, okay, let's just use Java's HTTP client. I had to look it up because I don't use it that often. Because again, I'm in the Spring world. Nothing wrong with the HTTP client. But then I quickly realized, like, okay, now I need to bring in Jackson because I haven't brought in any of that. Then, yeah, I can't remember where we were, but it was just, I'm used to using like an HTTP interface or a REST client or REST template. So I think we'll just refactor that today just because I want to stick in this world right now. So what I want to do, let's do that first. Let's do a little refactoring and then we'll get this to work. We'll build a native image, see if we can get that to work from the command line. We'll create an alias. So now, like, anytime I'm on the command line, I can just type in like dad joke and get a new dad joke. Yeah, at the end we were fiddling with the table width. Yeah, I was messed with that, and then we moved over to this. So, but yeah, that's another thing that I think. I mentioned to the Spring Shell team, it'd be nice to have in the docs like a visual representation of what some of those like borders do, because I have to like go tinker with those and then fiddle with the width. But again, that's me being ticky-tacky. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create a new, let's call this, what is the service that we are working with? ICANN has dad joke. I don't know about that, but let's create a client called dad joke client. Okay, and this is going to be an interface. And then, so this is the base URL. And then this one is actually, okay, so even though it's the base URL, that'll be the base, and then really this slash is the random joke. So let's do that. So what we're doing, okay, so I need to go back to Gradle. That was the other thing. I accidentally created a Gradle project. Not that there's anything wrong with Gradle. I'm just used to Maven. I don't use Gradle much, so we'll try and get by here. I need to get rid of this because I don't want this. I want the Spring Boot Starter Webflux. think I need a version. Looks right. I'm in a totally new environment, so excuse me if I'm a little lost for a second. I gotta really get this on my list of, move this up my list of things to learn in is Gradle. Okay, so now that I have that, now that I have the web flux in, and again, we're in Java 17, Spring Boot 3.0.3. We can use, in Spring Framework 6, we can use HTTP interfaces. So this is a way to declare an interface that we will turn into an implementation at runtime to make all of those client calls. So instead of having to fiddle around with this and not really, again, I had to go look it up. Instead of having to like fiddle with the code to call from here to another client, let's just let Spring do that for us. So the way that we'll do that is we'll say get exchange. This is actually going to be at the base URL and slash. And what we're going to get back from that is a dad joke response, right? And then I've mentioned this before, but the way this works underneath the hood is it's using the web client. So this could be blocking or non-blocking, and that really depends on the return type that we declare here. So since we've declared a blocking type, it's going to be a blocking call. If you wanted it to be a non-blocking, you could do something like this, right? So cool. I have a dad joke response, and we're gonna call this random. And I think that's it. We're not gonna take any arguments here. Okay, so now what I want to do, let's get rid of this. Just leave that for a second. So now I need to go back over to my application, and I always rename these. I don't know if you guys do. I just like this to be application. What I want to do in here is create a factory. So I have a factory. This is a different one, right? So we're using the web client to set a base URL. So I'm going to set that base URL based on this. And then I'm going to create an HTTP service proxy factory using that. And then I'm going to create a client based off of that. All right. So this is the bit of boilerplate that you have to write. And I have a live template to create that I can just change. But so with this boilerplate, now at runtime, I'll get a dad joke client that I can use. So if we go back over here, instead of making the using the HTTP client to make that call, I'm just going to say, oh, I need an instance of this. Oh, and now we can get rid of this object mapper. I probably won't need that. All right. So now I can say client.random. Let's see, that returns a dad joke response. And that's what we want to return, actually. So now we can just say return client.random. And let's just rename this. I was trying to be cute, but let's call this dad joke client, just so we're explicit, so we know what this is calling here. So now we've basically turned all of this and bringing in an object mapper and, translating that response into a dad joke response to just this one line, right? So I think this cleans it up a bit. So let's get rid of that and let's see if this works. All right, so from the shell, we can say help. We have some dad joke commands. I'm going to say random. And 200 OK. Details have been omitted. Okay, so we got a 200. Let's see. So that's nice. I haven't seen that before. So we made a call. We got a 200 back, but there was something went wrong. And then from Spring Shell, you can type stack trace to get the whole error of what's going on. Because without it, we would be pretty lost, right? So 200's okay. Reactor Netty, subscribe. Inbound. Aha. Content type text HTML not supported. There we go. So there's our problem. So we need to send a header. Can we send, how do we attach a header to this? Have I done this before? I believe I have. Maybe we can set it here. I don't think I've done this in the... So obviously if we were in a REST template, that would be easy because we have, from a REST template standpoint, one of the arguments that it takes is an HTTP entity, and there I would set the headers for that. So where do we set the headers in this? Let's go looking. Do we not have a single... I thought we had the single PD or text doc or the HTML doc. Is that not available? I don't like this. Hello, hello. I see you, James. Appreciate it. Simon says, isn't it just Fluent? I believe. Let's see. Ooh, default headers. That is exactly what I want. So let's say content type. I wonder if you could probably do it. You could probably do it. In the client itself, because what if it was different for each, whatever call you were making? It probably wouldn't be, but what if it was? But I like this. So default header of content type equals application/JSON. Thank you for that, Simon. Let's go ahead and try and restart this. Yeah, it's sending back text/HTML. That's weird. So this is the accept, but that's not going to work because we want to set the request header. This is for testing. Add a request header. Annotated HTTP exchange methods support flexible method signatures with the following parameters. All right, so can we do that? Well, this is going to let me, we'll say, right. This seems silly though. Like, I don't want this as an argument. I don't want to have to call her to like say, hey, set the request header to application/JSON. So I don't like this. I want to see something real quick. So let me just see base URL, default header. This just seems silly that this is not taking, but let me look at one thing. Yeah, this seems silly. Can't you use HTTP Exchange? Yeah, but that's really just the same as using Get Exchange, except you have to set the Get method or the HTTP method. Okay, let's find out what's going on here. So we could set the accept here, but we know that's the problem. We're not getting back application/JSON. So yeah, we could say make sure we're getting that back, but that's not going to fix our problem here. So we have a client, we have a base URL. Global option to specify a header is to be added to every request. That's what we want. If the request does not already contain such a header. Header is content type application/JSON. That's right. I don't think that matters either. What is it? This is just a string and a string, right? Wow, this is crazy. I am stumped. Now, see, normally, if I was in a web app, I'd be able to look at the request and see that it's clearly not there, but I can't do that. But clearly it's not there or would not be getting this error back. Because if we do this, so if we grab this, just wanna, let me try this. So if we just try to call that, we're gonna get the same problem, right? Yeah, we're just getting a bunch of text back. Okay, which we don't want, but if we do content type is application/JSON. All right. Application.json is not a valid value. Oh, do I need that now? Why is it not like that? What am I? Man, I am on a brain fog this week. I just not sending the right parameter here? Yeah, I'm not doing something right here in oh, so there's some predefined content types. That's what I'm missing. Well, yeah, that makes it so much easier. So if we ask it, so if we send, here's the content type is application slash JSON, then it sends everything back correctly. A man is washing the car with his son. The son asks, Dad, can't you just use a sponge? Because he's washing the car with his son. That's pretty good. So, okay. So we are supposed to be doing that. Shouldn't it be accept? So yes, we can accept, right? But if we don't tell it, now I'm confused. So accept is saying what content are we expecting back? Sure, we are expecting application slash JSON, but if we don't tell it which values to send back, then it may not. So as you saw in the previous example with just running it from the command line, if you don't send that request header of content type equals application slash JSON, it's going to complain. Well, now we got it. Wow, look at that. Sebastian Carlson, you win today. But now I'm a little confused, right? Because I don't send except from the command line and that works, but the... All right, we'll figure that out later, but thank you very much. I see there's some... Hello from Costa Rica. I love Java. Hello. Thanks for joining us. I love Java as well. I'm still a little perplexed there, but okay. So here's the joke that we get back. Dad died because he couldn't remember his blood type. I will never forget his last words. Be positive. All right. We can go ahead and stop the program here with Control-C or up here. So now that we have that working, let's talk about turning this into a native image. So let's get rid of all of this. All right, so we have this application and we want to turn it into a native image. So now normally, let me go back over here. And let me find, oh no, let's get rid of that. So I've done a recent video here. This one. So if you're interested in more of the kind of backstory on this, you can watch that. But I did a video on building native images in Java with GraalVM. So in Java, once you bring in something like Jackson, Jackson uses reflection behind the scenes. You now have to instruct GraalVM, here are the different paths that you didn't see. And to do that, you need to generate some metadata. Because we're in a Spring-based application, we have provided a lot of those hints to the native compiler so that you don't have to. Now, there'll always be use cases, especially if you're using reflection in your code, right? But I think for the most part, we won't have to deal with that here today. I could be wrong, so let's find out. So let's turn this into a native image. Let me just see what's going on. All right. Okay, so we need to turn this into a native image. So because we are in Spring Boot 3, oh, see, I don't even know how to do this from the Gradle side of things. From the Maven side of things, there's in the Maven tool, you can see the different profiles. There is a different profile. Hello, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. Okay, so from this standpoint, we want to switch to the native profile. And we have a Gradle W, so we don't have to have Gradle installed. So Gradle W. Now, again, I'm showing my ignorance here because I just don't use Gradle, but in Maven, I can switch to a native profile and native compile. Is it not the same? Darn it. Thank you, Simon. Ugh, I really need to get caught up on Gradle here. So I see that you said native compile. I just want to see that from our build at Gradle. Is that like in there? Gotcha. Native Gradle W native compile. What am I missing here? All right. What should we do here? I think I'm going to turn this into a Maven project because, again, I don't think right now is the time to learn Gradle. I'm going to create a new. All right, let's just see. I don't even need that. All right, let's just see if this works. We'll try and run it. All right. Oh, well, speaking of, before we do this, I think we should fix something up anyways. Yes, let's fix this up. Now that I'm back in the world of Maven, I feel a little bit more comfortable. We can get this done today. So one thing I want to do is go back into the command here, and this is currently returning a dad joke response. Let's do this. I still want the response because at some point we're going to talk about this, but I don't know. Let me see what time it is. I spent a lot of time with doing this today. Yeah. At some point, what I want to do is have an offline mode. So I think like every time we call, and again, I'll have to look at the API and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong. I mean, I guess I am. So my thought was every time we call the API, let's save one of those files. Let's save one of those jokes to a file or to disk or whatever, right? And they have an offline mode. Like if we're offline, we can't call the API. Maybe we're on a plane. How do we do that? We check to see if we're offline. If we are, then we switch and we're not using the API call now. We're reading from like a file now. So that was my idea of like, let's get the full response back because we want to deal with that type. So in this case, I just want to return the string, the joke. So let's see if that works. Okay. So I considered building the patio myself, but I didn't have the stones. Haha. All right. All right. Now that I'm back in my world, we're in Maven. If you look over here, profiles, we have different profiles. We have a native and a native test. So now if I go over to terminal and I want to compile this, I could say Maven W, and we could switch to the native profile. So I'm going to say switch over to native, And in the native profile, I can do something like native compile. So this is going to go off and try to compile this natively. So this is Spring Boot 3 using GraalVM. This is going to take a little bit of time, but that's okay. We want that instantaneous startup when we're on the command line. We don't want to wait a second or two for the JVM to load, right? Like that may not seem like a lot, but we don't want to have to do that. We don't want to wait for that if we don't have to. So this is going to create a native executable, and it's not doing it because skip test equals true. And we don't want to wait that second. We don't have to. So this will be nice. We'll have it on the command line. We'll type it out, and boom, it's up and running. All right. Yes, we're just waiting. Once this, so I was saying before, if you're in a normal Java application, we would have had to have done another step, especially using something like Jackson. We would add to say like, these are the paths that you can't see right now. Because GraalVM goes through and tries to figure out every path that it can take, but it can't see that there's some reflection happening underneath the hood somewhere, and that there are some other classes that might be used. So I talked about that in another video, so you can go watch that if you want. In this case, we're in a Spring app. I think our bases are covered. So once it's done, you'll see that we can come up here and under target, there is a DJ CLI. So what we can do is we can say target DJ CLI, and boom, right into the shell. So now I can say random. And have you heard the rumor going around about butter? Never mind, I shouldn't spread it. Love it. Okay, so this is an annoying error that I have a fix for. My interactive prompt works now, but it seems it only works when compiled to a native prompt. Seems some issue with the way it otherwise interacts with my command prompt. I'm not sure, Simon. You're probably a step ahead of me at this point. One question, does HTTP Exchange support the OAuth 2 also? Well, the HTTP Exchange annotation itself does not. All it says is like, where am I going? What's the URI? So no. But the web client probably does. But I don't know that that's something I've done. In that case, things that I have done with the web client is, hey, we need to send a header for security reasons, pass this JWT token along with a request. Can we make use of OAuth 2 client that Spring provides and bind that to HTTP Exchange? I'm not sure. Can you give me an example of what you're trying to do in that scenario? And I'll think about it. Pad 5. Hello, Pad. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's fix like a couple things here. I don't want to show you my Notion, so I'm just going to drag this to another screen. I have a... All right, one other thing I want to play with. So that should solve that weird macOS error that I get. The other thing I want to do is... do I want to do root? And I just want to say off. So I want to get no output. So let's go back to the terminal. Oh, oops. I'm in the wrong one. All right, so I'm going to run the native compilation again. I'm trying to fix two things, that little macOS error, and then when it starts up, it spits some Spring stuff out in the console. I just want to turn off logging for that because I don't need it. Like in the case if there could be an OAuth 2 exchange and we can call the resource server declarative style. I don't think so, but I will ask. And bring that up on Spring Office Hours next week. Oh boy. All right, I have got to go to a meeting, so I'm going to cut this short today. Sorry about that. I will try and come back later today and we'll wrap this up. But this should be working now. Sorry about that, friends. This is the fun of live streaming. I forgot I had a meeting. Gotta go. Appreciate you showing up. I'll be back later. Bye.